Hey guys, tonight's Hopper Hot Take. Today is March 28th, and this is the first Hopper Hot Take of the month of March. March is, as many of you know, National Athletic Training Month, and there's some really exciting news coming out of the National Football League. Yesterday it was announced that the NFL, along with a lot of other major sports organizations, MLB, NBA, NHL, MLS, the NCAA, as well as the Corey Stringer Institute, the University of Connecticut, the National Athletic Trainers Association, the American Heart Association, the American Red Cross, and of course Damar Hamlin's Chasing M's Foundation, which many of you heard about back in the month of January. These organizations have all come together to form this Smart Heart Sports Coalition, and they have three objectives. These objectives are things that we know as best practices, and if you've been paying attention after Monday Night Football on January 2nd when Damar Hamlin collapsed on the field in Cincinnati and was resuscitated, shocked with an AED and transported to the hospital and has made a remarkable recovery. If you've been paying attention, you know what these three things are. Now, their goal is to take these three things to the high school level, and that's where they need to be. Okay? Number one is developing an evidence-based emergency action plan. Having a plan and knowing how to do what you need to do in an emergency. Okay? We want those to be venue and sport specific, and we want them to be clear and concise. All right? So that's number one, is an emergency action plan. Number two is having an AED in an athletic facility or within 1 to 2 minutes of an athletic facility. Best case scenario is to have an AED in the athletic facility, at games, things like that. And then the third is requiring coaches' education, and so that coaches know CPR and know how to use an AED. Now, believe it or not, the number of states who actually already have these in place is really, really small. 7 out of 50 states already require this at the high school level. That's it. 7 states. And so one of the first things this coalition has done is that the NFL Foundation has committed $1 million to AED and CPR education. Fantastic start. The foundation has committed $20,000 to every NFL team to be able to spend as they feel necessary for CPR training and AEDs and things like that in their local communities. And the other thing that this organization or this coalition is working to do is they're taking research from KSI that is an ongoing research project looking at state policies as it relates to sports safety. And they've identified that 7 states have all 3 of these requirements already. That means there are 43 states that have a lot of work to do. And they have sent letters to the governors of each of these states. And it is time for these places to act. Now, I do know that the state of Ohio has legislation right now that is ongoing that would mandate AEDs at athletic competitions. State of Pennsylvania has talked about doing the same. I do not know where that stands. However, I do know that Damar Hamlin is from the Pittsburgh area. And so that's why why Pennsylvania is now working on this. New Mexico, I did see the other day, has also introduced legislation on this. And it's really important across the board that we start hammering this home. AEDs should be available. Coaches and other athletic personnel should be trained in CPR and how to use an AED. And always, as we always come back, if you want to talk about sports safety, let's talk about the athletic trainer and how critical the role of the athletic trainer is in an emergency situation and also simply preparing for an emergency situation, making sure that there's an EAP established, making sure there's an AED available, often being the one who's training these coaches in CPR and teaching them how to use the AED, and putting it all together. That is the certified athletic trainer. And it, again, as we wind down the month of March, March is National Athletic Training Month, and it's a month that athletic trainers used to advocate, but also it's a time for celebration, and it's a time for us to grow as a profession. And so for this to come out at the end of March is fantastic news, I think, for us. We have a lot of work to do. I look forward to seeing what the NFL and these other organizations do as it relates to sports safety at the high school level. We know with 8 million school-aged children participating in sports that emergencies are going to happen. And we have to do a better job of preparing for those. And this is a step in the right direction. And once again, I look forward to seeing where this grows from here. And I look forward to being a part of the process as we continue to teach CPR, AED, and emergency action plans in high school athletics. We have a long way to go, but this is a step in the right direction. And again, this didn't have to happen on national television for this to come into play, but sometimes it does, and it did. And now it's time for us to act. So that is tonight's Hopper Hot Take. For all you athletic trainers, I hope that your employers, your patients, your parents, your stakeholders have acknowledged your role here in the month of March. But also I hope you've taken the opportunity to advocate as well, because that's really what National Athletic Training Month is. So that's tonight's Hopper Hot Take. You guys have a great night, and we'll talk soon.